Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Your boy, the Road Dog, here with the man, the myth, the legend, the man that's managed to survive another year on the planet, the king himself, King Karl Bryan. How are you, big fella?
Dog, I'm good shoots. Thanks for coming to the birthday bash, man. That was a little bit epic. How you feeling?
Well, I wasn't sure if I'm feeling horrible. It's taken me, in my age, I'm not built like you. It takes me a few days to recover. So, but I gotta say, if your wife kept that a surprise from you, that would be pretty next level of her to pull that one off. So either you are the world's greatest actor, or she did in fact manage to keep it a surprise.
She managed to, honest to goodness, I thought I don't know. I was thinking maybe something the next night, and then I was thinking something maybe, come back to our place after we go there for a quiet drink. But there you go, man. All good. It happened. We survived. Here we go. We venture on even after going quadding the next day, and I'm going to tell you that was epic as well, but there you go, Sheets. That's what was happening, man.
You know what? It's amazing. Like, it's not every day you turn 65, so that's good. That's really good. I'm proud.
Yeah, right. I know. All right, let's keep going.
All right. On that note, somebody's got to make it for dinner at 4. Okay. All right. First question. I have a life coaching. Karl's favorite topic, ladies and gentlemen. This should be entertaining. I cannot wait to see where this goes. Everybody's favorite type of coach, a life coach. All right. Anyways, I have a life coaching client thinking about becoming a business owner. Oh boy. Wants to buy a business. Any advice? Dude, you've looked at businesses. That's a great question. Like what's a guy or gal or whatever need to be looking at when buying a business these days?
I like it. Actually, yeah, that question started slow and finished fast. So there you go. Well done. Okay, look. So life coach, good. I've said this a zillion times. If you're out there and you're a life coach, I've got to tell you, you should very quickly segue to become a business coach, because what we do is, if you are a life coach, let's say you make $100,000, like we'll call that real money or above. I'm going to say to you, all your best clients are business owners. Am I correct? And you're going to say, well, you look up at the stars and say, wow, you're right. How did you know that? With 100% certainty, what we do as business coaches is we coach the person in, a large degree of the time, because we get you out of your own way, but then we help you with, implementing the upsell, the downsell, the cross-sell, and putting together the right business model, et cetera. But the chokehold on any business is the psychology of the owner. That's Ford, Pepsi, Nike, Apple, Road Dog's company, my company, like you name it. So anyway, that's important. So if you want to be a life coach, make a lot more money, you become a business coach, you can charge way more, keep clients for significantly longer. What you really do is life coaching. But anyway, so let's not go down that rabbit hole, but that's a little bit of advice there. I'd like to know, what's the process that they went through while considering buying? As in, did they think about starting a business? Because let me just tell you some stats here. If you take the average business that hits $1 million and then the average business that hits 2 million, it takes 3 years to get to 1 million and then 5 years to hit 2 million, right? Which is like roughly little over $160,000 a month, right? So what happens is that is danger. Most businesses fail when? It's certainly in the first 5 years, but even in the first, 12 to 24 months. So really, when you go to buy a business that's been in existence 2 to 5 years, hit 1 to 2 million, you've bypassed, danger zone, like in a very real and tangible way. So this is actually, I like the thought of somebody thinking about, look, I'm going to buy a company, as opposed to, I think what we would, often hear, and possibly even think about and channel ourselves towards, in a less, what am I trying to say, in an inferior way, is to start a company. So rather than starting it, you go and buy it. You can bypass that danger time. You get a little bit of momentum and you're good. And then when you go to buy a business, by the way, a mistake that people make is they want to buy an excellent business, right? Like one that's overperforming, one that's really performing at a high level. That's not the business I'd be looking for. I would be looking for, a business that's hit $1 million. But when you look at it, you think to yourself, gosh dang, these guys are really underperforming. Like an example that I've given for years, and I think is a good one, like just think of a hair salon and they've got, let's say 10 chairs. And then you go in and three to four are busy on a regular basis. Well, the value that you can bring is you can fill 6 chairs versus if you go to the business and it's overperforming and say 9 to 10 of those businesses or nine to 10 of those chairs are busy on a regular basis. How are you going to overperform? Like, how are you going to, add a ton of value to the income statement, to the balance sheet, like to the value of the company, right? So that you're going to be able to sell it for significantly more and make way more money than they are, right? So hopefully you're seeing that you're looking for a business that you seem to feel like is underperforming. So you can go in there and make a bang quickly. Generally speaking, by the way, a low end skill. This is again a mistake that folks make. They're thinking like a dental practice would be really cool to own, or a doctor office would be really cool to own. Wrong. Well, I guess if you're a dentist, by the way, that would be cool. But you get a really low multiple. Like if you go to sell the dental office, you will get like a really low multiple, like 1 to 2 times earnings, like a multiple on earnings of only 1 to 2. Whereas on a lower end skill business, so think like a car lot as an example, or a car wash or something really simple, a painting company, you'll get a significantly higher multiple. Like you go 3 to 7 multiple on earnings. So anyway, so just a little bit, you're going to guide somebody towards buying a business. Let's make sure that we're going to the right kind of business, right? Like, and is the industry growing? Like, here's a secret. You look at $1 trillion, look at Google as an example, and you think, oh my gosh, these must be the 2 smartest guys of all time. They start this company. You don't build a $1 trillion business on intelligence. You build it with one word, and that one word is trend, right? So you didn't know it on, like, let's say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, online search wasn't something you were doing, thinking about, not happening. And now, you've probably done 3 to 5 to 20 today, right? Well, it's on trend. Amazon started when we were all scared to put our credit cards into the, like online. And now we do it. We prefer that. Like I had to pay for stuff for my pool the other day, and I was like, can you send me a link? Right? I'm like, why? I don't want a phone, right? Can I just send you a link? Anyway, so, thinking like, and then anti-aging would be a good example. Like with an aging population, what do you think? Is anti-aging going to accelerate and improve? Is there opportunity there, or the opposite? And it's, pretty obvious, Road Dog. I remember a while back, sometime, but I remember a young kid, he was like, I'm thinking about buying a cafe, right? And I was like, okay, look, tell me more. Like, he's asking me for, about building businesses, to do, I'm thinking about starting a cafe. Is this is it a good idea? Will this idea make money, right? Horrible way to approach it, generally speaking. What you're looking for are problems, and then whether you could solve them. But I was like, are there other, like, where are you thinking about doing it? He had like this location. I'm like, are there other cafes in the area? What do they serve, the other places that are locally? How far is the nearest Starbucks? The other cafes, like, are they low end? Are they mid? Or are they high priced? Are they kind of like a sit down, like 50 seats, 25 seats? Or is it, kind of 10 seats and a grab and go kind of situation? What's the rent that they're paying? What's the rent of that place that you saw that you think is such a great location? Like, where I'm going is like, what's the gap in the market? So Road Dog, in closing, a great question. I hope to take this on board, but I think that's a really good idea to not just help people grow businesses, but what about help people start businesses? A good track, but you want to have rules. Okay. So if you are going to build a company, like, here are some, basically existing rules, whether it's for you, whether it's for a friend, for a loved one, for the young guy that I just mentioned earlier. But you'd look real quick, you need existing demand. If there's not existing demand, don't do it. The end, right? Things like coffee, is there always going to be a demand, right? Pretty much. Um, you're going to buy it. You want a good management team. It's the jockey over the horse all day long and twice on Sunday, unless you're going to go in and you are going to run the place. That's different. But then my question is, are you a good management team? And then what qualifies you to have a good management team? What qualifies that young guy to be, management? Do you have good parents? If his parents owned cafes, does he have a sister or somebody? You know what I mean? Like, you're looking for that kind of an approach. But anyways, is there a barrier to entry problem with like a cafe, a coffee place? Like, somebody can come in and start one tomorrow, especially Starbucks. If Starbucks isn't there, they can come in and step on you. Like, is there a moat of any? I've been delving into this world a little bit, like, trying to, like, building moats, like, how could you build a barrier to entry? This is why sometimes a company that's a little harder, to facilitate, and some skill can be a little bit better, but you don't want dentist, doctor, because there's 9 years of school, right? So again, they get bad valuations, difficult businesses to run. If you're not a dentist, you're not a doctor. But so, like, is there a barrier to entry? Let's put it that way. Is it going to cost a few bucks to start? Or can anybody just start it? A pain of disconnect, and people there, sadly, there's a pain of disconnect for Starbucks because they make such great coffee. People can't just, they can't just turn it off. But that's a bad example of a pain of disconnect, by the way. But is it a good idea? And then number 6 is minimal risk. So just, existing demand, the good management team, barrier to entry, pain of disconnect, a good idea, and minimal risk. What's important of what I just said, 2 and 6, which is a good management team, and again, are you good management team? And then number 6, minimal risk, absolutely critical. And think of what I said earlier. You're thinking about starting a company, Road Dog, versus buying somebody else's. The first, getting the $1 to $2 million, the first 2 to 5 years is absolutely, danger times. If you can bypass that, absolutely huge. So anyways, Road Dog, actually, just in closing, let me just also, if there's a component of real estate, which COVID's changed this a little bit, but not entirely, and COVID will go away. But like, let's say there's a business where there's land, like a daycare as an example. I like the idea of a daycare. Again, pretty, low skill, pretty easy to run. Is there demand? They're going to stop having kids, right? Not going to happen. But you could buy the land, build the business, sell the business, continue to own the land, and have somebody to lease it, rent it from you for, forevermore. That is a home run on steroids, and most people don't think about it. So is there a real estate component to it? Which, would, anyway, so there you go, Road Dog. That's just, so I agree. That question kind of started slow, finished fast, but I think that's great, helping people start companies. But that starting versus buying is a conversation that people will normally go straight towards starting, and that would, generally speaking, be a mistake. But there's different situations, right? Call for different roadmaps. What do you think? There you go.
Starting slow and finishing fast sounds like your Friday night. Listen, I gotta say, we need to increase our budget for the podcast. If you're going to start throwing out Danger Zone, and I cannot play like the Top Gun music in the background, what are we even doing? Like, seriously, we're just doing everyone a disservice.
Iceman. You might go for Road Dog to Iceman shoots. That's a good idea.
Listen, the other thing that's crazy to me is now I understand the power outage of my house this morning is you are literally building a moat around your house. I'm not sure how this is going to
We did. We woke up this morning. I'm like, where's all the lights? What's going on?
It's like an alcoholic running out of booze. It's like Karl running out of power and not being able to turn on his computer. I'm just like, I'm picturing this and I'm like, oh my God, Karl is freaking out right now because he can't get his emails and everything else out the door. I'm like, oh my God. I can just about imagine the panic at your house. Anyways, all right, moving on. Speaking of moats and ridiculous things that rich people do, there seems to be a common theme of, I wonder if Bezos has a moat. Like, I'm getting now, this is my rabbit hole, hey? Like, do you think, what of all, like, who is, like just so eccentric, like, who do you think would have a moat of all the richest people on the planet?
who have a moat, as in like literally around their property. I'm going to go Bill Gates, possibly. I'm going to go Bill Gates.
Smart move. I was going to say Prince Andrew with all the allegations against him. Anywho, too soon. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of rich people, again, like I said, there's a question that came in. This is a horrible segue, but anyways, why do the richest read all the time? And this is a true story because I also, much like the person writing in the question, I hate reading. I much prefer audiobooks. I'm really good at listening. Just don't ask my wife that question. But anyways, I hate reading something. Is there something I'm missing? So when somebody says like, why do the richest, like you always hear of these top entrepreneurs and successful people always reading, Karl, like why is that? Like this person wants to know, is there something?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, you know this, but I'm a ferocious reader. I can't read enough. But look, I gotta tell you, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, whether you're gonna love them, hate them, hard not to put them in the greats of the greats of the greats of business. I mean, they do, like Zuckerberg's got a book club. Gates goes on reading holidays. So I got to tell you, it's something you got to get your head around it. But like in your case, Road Dog, it's not like you dislike reading, but you've pivoted and you're like, okay, well, I'll just do audiobooks, right? As an example. So it's not like you're not educating yourself. So I think that's, that's nothing wrong with that. It's all good as long as you're doing it. Let's just make sure you're feeding your mind. But they do say that reading is going to have a significantly higher impact on you. So if you can get your head around it, you should. But it's not just about reading, but the greats. Let's just go Gates and Zuckerberg and Jobs and Branson, whoever you're going to put as the greats of the greats. They deploy like 3 questions, right? Like, how can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? So don't just it's like practice. People practice for the sake of practicing, but you got to practice to improve, right? That's the difference. Tom Brady practices to improve, right? He's 45 years old, whatever he is, crushing it in the NFL still. He practices to improve. He doesn't just practice to practice, going through the motions. That's a game changer. You're just reading to read. Are you reading to improve? Are you reading to deploy is the way I'm going to say it, right? And the best chefs in the world use the best ingredients. So one of the things I do, like I study who I'm going to study. The mistake that people make is they're farting around on social media. Not to mention, then there's COVID this, and there's politics that, and there's Donald Trump, yeti, and they get taken by that. But there's the new, latest, greatest, oh my gosh, this guy's got the solution. He's got the great thing. Like, to not go and, like read what Buffett has to say and Dalio has to say, Ray Dalio, if you know who that is, Tony Robbins, if you love him from back in the day. Like, there's stuff will stand the test of time. And to not go, just think first principles. Like, go and learn the most important, like build yourself a really, really strong foundation versus, recency bias and getting taken by the super inspirational yeti, like the influencer, quote unquote, online. But the problem is that they're renting their Lambo, they're renting the jet, they're taking photos beside it, yeti. Been down that too many times. But you know what I mean? Don't get taken by that. Like, build that foundation, study the greats, right? And also, audio, video, talked about that, but that if it's not your shtick, make sure this is what you're doing, right? But it comes back to time management, right? Learn to ask yourself questions like, learn to say no, right? Like, just reading all the time without deploying is just stupidity. And I say that because I know, some of the folks listening, like coaches, we just want to grow and we just want to learn. But you can take it to too high of a level, right? Like, if you're just reading too much and then you're not turning it around and deploying, I'm going to say that your time management sucks, right? You got to go 80-20, you got to go 95-5, you got to go 150. And at some stage, you got to go and make it happen. Not to mention, your greatest teacher will always be doing. If you follow me, I just picture again, your greatest teacher will always be named doing, right? And before you do, like, just thinking like time management, like, we're farting around on social media. Should I post the viral COVID yeti, doctor standing up and talking online? Following a guy that posts about fighting with his wife. Like, is this somebody I should be following? Should I be surfing the internet right now? It's between 9 and 5. Is this a good idea? I've got a dentist appointment. do you do it after hours or do you do it in prime business hours? Real entrepreneurs, I can tell you, their time is very, very important to them. They're not scheduling, generally speaking, kids' appointments and their own appointments during the day when they're going to get taken out of the office, right? Like they think about this kind of stuff. Just even picking up your phone. And I'm guilty, by the way, just to be clear. But I'd like to say that I'm a little more disciplined than the average bear, and I most certainly think about this type of stuff. But just grabbing my phone and automatically going to Facebook, and some are going to Instagram, and then it's TikTok, and it's whatever else. I just don't pick up the damn phone, because you pick up the phone and then you automatically, without even thinking about it, you go there. Or heaven forbid, it's the playing Tetris or playing solitaire or some game on your phone, right? Like turning on the TV again, like, is this a good idea? Or should I get into the new TV series, like whatever it's going to be, like Ted Lasso? I think we mentioned that last week. Unbelievable series. But, if you've already got, it's not like I'm following 7 series on TV, not even close, right? Like I like that one. I like to watch it, fall asleep. Bottom line is, before you get into a new TV series, don't watch the first show. If I guarantee it's pretty damn good. Without realizing that there's a good chance you're going to get taken, right? Like, look, somebody asked Road Dog, like, can I interview you on my podcast? The question is, look, what is, like, before, and maybe you should, maybe you're going to get some exposure. Maybe you're going to learn something. Maybe the preparation for the podcast is going to be worth it. So, but what's the upside before you go, right? And by the way, speaking of upside, so let's go, like, ask yourself a higher level question, right? Like, does it make tomorrow easier? So if that podcast is going to bring in a bunch of leads and you currently need some leads, we'll assume that, you don't have all your coaching spots filled up, then that might not be a bad idea, right? But like, does it make tomorrow easier / let's go better, right? Like I do a daily email. So I don't sit down and just write one email. I write down and, I basically will pump off 4 at a time, like I'll, it makes tomorrow easier when I do that, right? Again, like, should I, pick up the John Grisham novel? And the answer is maybe I should. Maybe I'm going to be going on holidays. Maybe it's time for me to check out. But there's a good chance if you put yourself through a little bit of a process, before just grabbing the book and then realizing you're on page 125 and you just lit X amount of, family time, business time, yada on fire. Maybe it's maybe if you don't have the foundation you need, maybe what you should be doing is grabbing letters to shareholders and taking some notes and maybe learning something, right? So I guess the question, it's reading. It's not just about reading. It's about having mental models and having discipline to work out, is this the right map? Is this the right process? Is this what I should be, is this what I should be doing? And then even like, becoming like your emails, right? Like these are, in some cases, I mean, this may be a bad example, a good example, but just being a, slave to your emails and your phone calls and your text, it's just not a way to run a business. You need to be significantly more strategic than that. You might be just starting out and you might be a little bit desperate to get things in motion. So realize where you're at in the life cycle of your business. And maybe you can accept that you're going to be a little bit more reactive to your email short term until you get those 10 clients and you get yourself to 10 to 20 grand a month and you get yourself comfortable. But do have a plan to get yourself out of it, right? Again, it's like in the morning, we talk about time management. Like, are you working? What do people say? I don't have time to work out. And it's like horse pucky. We all know the reason you don't have time to work out is because you don't work out. When you work out in the morning, you'll get significantly more done during the day. And more to the point, your coaching client will. In fact, I wrote an email last week and Freedom 45. And it's basically two, in a perfect world, 2 45-minute workouts. Do one in the morning, do one in the afternoon. You'll feel so amazing. It'd be unbelievable. You'll start eating better. You'll automatically start drinking more water. But it's just, do you have time for that? When you go and you're going to study, you're going to decide to read. Like I said, before I go and just read somebody's book, I'm going to do homework on the individual before I go and read the book, right? Like, committing to studying billionaires. I guess this process I went through, a number of years ago now. But, I was like, studying millionaires and I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm going to start studying billionaires. Like if they haven't built $1 billion company, then I'm not going to follow them. It's not that I'm not going to follow them, but it was a framework, right? Like I'm going to start following billionaires, and I put together 30 minutes, put it on my calendar, and I calendared it. Is that a word? Calendared it, right? And like so I would book everything off. The phone goes in the drawer. The emails get shut off, and I would go and I would do some homework. And I got to tell you, when I think back to my one percenters and whatnot, a bit of an adjustment there. I can tell you that my the level of learning that came in between my ears was significantly higher. Like, who are you listening to? Like, the poorest countries in the world are the most religious. People don't realize that. Like, what they do is they just figure that it's all God's will, right? And it's just like that. And by the way, don't listen to me. Go and do your own homework and decide if I'm right. I'm telling you now that I am. But it's like that. What am I trying to say? That lack of control over your schedule, your learning, and they just kind of figured that they're going to come back and have this amazing life in another lifetime. Well, I'm here to say that you don't get a drug. We don't. I don't think anybody listening to this is going to fall into that category, right? But it's like you don't get a second chance, right? Like, stop living like you got a second chance. I think is a meme that goes flying around a lot, and it's like so true. Right, Road Dog. But bottom line is take control. And yes, a little bit of a rabbit hole of time management, but I guess if you're going to read all the time, I just don't want people to think, okay, well, it's not about the reading, right? Like, the deployment would be significantly, actioning what you learn would be significantly more important than just the reading. But without doubt, plugging yourself through a little bit of a, like, how can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? Like, as you're reading, thinking about those three questions, that might help accelerate, the doing side of it. But make sure that you're doing that. Your greatest teacher will always be named doing. My question is, are you doing enough? And then let's make sure that you motivate an idiot and they do stupid things quicker. Right, Road Dog? Like, that's also not, a good plan. Let's make sure that the learnings and the content and what you're deploying on, makes sense. Because I always say, if you leave the average business owner their own devices, they'll get all motivated and lower their prices. Well, you tell me, is this a good idea? Is that what you'd be advising? And we dare say not. So, take control, Road Dog. But yeah, reading is a beauty. But you don't like reading. You just, put like, that's just fact, right? Well, but it's not that you don't get the learnings in. You just do it in a different way. And I think in this day and age, you can do that. But they do say that reading is a bit of it's a game changer. So if you can discipline yourself to do it, you should. So that's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't read just to read. I read for revelation, right? So for me, I'm just looking at until I can get something that I can apply. Like, that's typically as long as I'll go. Otherwise, because if you come out with like 50 million ideas, you're like, oh my god. Real quick, what book is on your nightstand right now?
Sadly, guess what it is? Accounting 101 for business coaches, Shoots. But you're not going to believe who that author is. Very good. But actually, so right underneath that book, I can tell you I've got Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss, who I think he's a bit of a stud.
I've been meaning to actually lend you a book. It's called $1 Trillion Coach. You heard of that one?
Is that the guy who coached Google?
I think so. I think that's the dude. What's his name? Eric Schmidt, Jonathan Rosenberg, and Alan Eagle. The leadership in Silicon Valley's build model. Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, anyways, I have heard of it. I have not. Can't say I've read it. Don't even know if I've seen it. But yeah, good. Is it good?
It's on my to-do list. I've got about 3 other books I got to get through before I get to there. So that's the problem. There's so much out there, right? Like, it's absolute insanity of what's out there. But now listen, I know that you like to rail all over social media, which, you know what, so far so good. From after Friday night, no incriminating pictures or anything else. Your political career is still alive. But somebody wrote in, how do I get more activity on social media? So as much as we can hate on social media. It is a tool. It is free. It is there. And by the way, I'm going to laugh in the face of anybody that's just like railing all over. I love it. The Facebook whistleblower, like we didn't know all this information before. And then the best part is, and here's how I think they should run their business. Well, you know what? If you knew how to run that business, you would have started at this stage. So way to armchair back that one. But anywho, there's hate mail can be directly at Karl and not me. So there you go. But on that note,
okay, so what is it about social? What's the question?
How do I get more activity on social media?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'd ask a better question maybe. Do you want it? Go to your first principles. Look, because what's your goal? Your goal is, I'm going to assume that if you're asking this question, you're looking for new coaching clients. So, what's the goal? And it's to get coaching clients, right? I got to tell you that social media is a little bit of a slow grind. I mean, it's very, very powerful, right? There's no doubt. Just picture, like, if you do a Facebook Live, like if I could put 10 people in front of you every single day, this would be a good thing, right? Like that's the local chamber of commerce. Well, you could do a Facebook Live and get significantly more than 10 people watch your Facebook Live every single day, right? But then my question is, do you have a process? And are you willing to continue, see it as a journey and then not give up after day 3 when you don't get 3 coaching clients? You know what I mean? Like, are you willing to, look bad for a few days and then get a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better? Like, don't try to compete with Tony Robbins, compete with yourself and just get a little better every single day and then accept it in 365 days. You're going to be unbelievable. And I would dare say that if you put the mistake people make is they make these videos and then the goal of the video is to sell somebody into coaching. And I say, if you're going to do a Facebook Live every day, change people's lives, whether they pay you or not. That's how you make things work online, right? So bottom line is, you look, getting activity on social media, whatever it was, do you want it? And if you do, okay, well, what's the game plan? And then what's the goal? And then once you get coaching sales, remember, you're probably going to tap out at about, you get 15 to 20 one-to-one coaching clients and you're maxed out, right? So anyway, so I just think that's important to ask the right question. And being overly popular, frankly, is just a pain in the you-know-what. So again, is that what you want? Is that what you want for your life and for your family, et cetera? And look, calendar it. A mistake that you can make is if you delve into social media and you're not disciplined and you're not experienced, you can spend a lot of time on there. My gosh, right? And you need to follow and be followed by your target audience. Because right now you're thinking, well, I'll do a Facebook Live, but there's nobody there who's going to buy from me. Okay, well, that's what it's a slow grind. You need to go. Like, if you go to my personal Facebook page, I've got, 5,000. This is many you can have. I'd be amazed if I don't have, 5,000 today, right? As you listen to this. And a lot of them are my target audience. I have my buds, Road Dog and I, we follow our families and that sort of thing on social media, but we've also got our targeted audience, right? And then, of course, you've got your, somebody else's thinking business page, but if you're a business coach, you could do the vast majority of everything you need to do in social media, just tooting around on your personal accounts, right? But I'll let you decide if that's something you want to do. Let me just tell you this. If you want to increase your activity, if you want to triple activity, you got to double your engagements, right? So you really get active. Like, are you liking? Are you sharing? Are you commenting on other people's posts? And specifically your targeted audience? And the answer is probably no. That would be a mistake. And also really important, I've covered this many a times, but I'll cover it many a times in the future as well. There's 2 forms of value online: education and entertainment. And then if you can be entertaining while be educational, you're going to be onto something. And I just told you exactly why. I open every single one of my daily emails with a joke, right there. And some love them and some hate them and some are good and some are terrible. The whole idea, I know for a fact that people read my daily email because they want to see what I'm going to say next, right? They want to see what's the cheesy joke and is he going to be, a little bit on the crazy side. But anyway, so education. And so forget me. What about you? If I go to your personal Facebook page, if I go to your business page, if I go to your social media profiles, your LinkedIn profile for sure, am I going to see you educating people? And I would dare say no. And you know this, right? You probably heard me say it before, or you already know it, but you're not doing it. So this is where, knowing and doing. What's your greatest teacher is always going to be named doing. And then, of course, you don't do the video. The reason, because you don't want to put yourself out there because you might look like an idiot, right? But I always say when I read my original emails that I put out, it was, I guess a couple of years ago now, when I started my daily email, like I cringe. Like I don't even do it because it's just like, oh my gosh, like I put that out there. I put my name on the bottom of that. But guess what? I got a little better. And I think if you read my emails today, you'll see there's very much you know what I mean? Like I've got a running order, and I can do them significantly quicker. And I write every one of them, by the way, like, myself. And I think they're pretty good. So there you go. But they're educational. They're entertaining. Forget me. What about you? If I go to your, email list and I go to your Facebook profile and I go to Instagram, am I going to see you being educational? And not pitching, okay, being educational, if they pay you or not, you change their life. And then is it going to be, and if you can do it in an entertaining way, you go to Tony Robbins, you ever been to one of his events? It's like a 4-day rock concert, right? There's a reason, right? And then also, and I've said this again 100 times, but I'm going to say it again. But like what are you going to put out there, right? And versus your educational, oh my gosh, an upsell is so amazing. It's so, oh, you got to do this. Like standing against, like as an example, I'll educate you that, like, you got an upsell and a cross sell. A cross sell is, do you want fries with that? An upsell is, do you want me to supersize it? Well, one is 21 times more profitable than the other, right? And I can tell you that most people will go to cross sell first, and that's a mistake. You got to go to supersize it. Do you want me to supersize that? That's the first place that you go. It's significantly easier for your clients, but people will make that mistake. What I'm getting at, I don't know that that's a good example of standing against, but I'm educating you on something. Like a true mentor can tell you what not to do. So the example I just gave you is that you probably would have done this without my advice, and that would be a mistake, right? And I can't say standing against without doing my usual multiple streams of income, right? Just stop it. Multiple streams of income have sold by influencers on social media and elsewhere that don't have them, right? And then they spout out passive income. Join Amazon and sell online and, like do e-commerce, yada, 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 sell mugs. It's passive income this and passive income that. I got to tell you, just stop it. It's not happening, right? You stop working and magically the money will stop too. You have rental properties and you don't upkeep them. You don't make sure that, the sinks are working and the water's working and the lawns are mowed, or that you know what I mean? But you're not looking after it. Bad result. Another one is like, do what you love and make millions. Again, I used to own a hockey rink. I couldn't stand putting my skates on after a while, right? You're going to be the same. It's advice always given out by billionaires. It's just a really great way to hate what you used to love. So again, just make sure that the advice, don't go like standing against is going to be more powerful. What are common things that your audience is probably thinking that you can show them why they're ridiculously wrong? Because I know that I say that multiple. Another one that I'll say is like systems stifle creativity, right? Stop it. If you want to hire 16-year-olds systemized to death, you want to hire professionals to make real money, make real decisions, help you grow your business. And remember, your greatest successes will always come through other people. Systems will stop that from happening to a large degree. Hire people smarter than you and let them loose and watch what happens, right? So social media, look, Road Dog, you got to have three things. Good content, okay, obvious, educational. I just gave you a couple examples. Popular places, let's just call that Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, which is significantly more popular than you guys think. Twitter, I know guys that have 7-figure coaching companies straight off the back of Twitter, nowhere else. And I know that you think it's old school and yada, 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 and it's yesterday's and it's whatever. Twitter is a great place to do real business. Debatably, guys on Twitter laugh at guys on Facebook. I'm just going to say that. And the guys on Twitter have more money. By the way, don't listen to me. Go see if I'm right. I am. So anyway, but let's continue. But you got to put good content, popular places, and you got to do it consistently. Don't do it on Tuesday and then not do it for whatever period of time. Like you got to do it. Your favorite people to follow online are consistent, and you need to be. And don't not to be awesome. Make your goal to be consistent, and then you'll become awesome. I think that's, You're not going to be amazing on day one. You're not going to have this unbelievable writing style, this unbelievable flair for the camera, generally speaking, right? And then just manage your times. Just again, do all of this. You do Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and yada yada yada. Be careful at that, and just again enjoy the journey. Like, don't get obsessed. Like when the Freedom 45, the last rule was, don't be obsessed with the result. Be okay with the journey. Accept that it is a journey, right? And obsessing on the result just takes all the fun out of it. Potentially a lot of the learnings out of it. Right. And always link back to your stuff, like have your own blog, kind of control that. Like ultimately you want to build a list, right? Road Dog, you do not want Facebook controlling your business. I'll give you the red hot tip on that one. Right. And then discussing politics and, the trend, what if COVID's going to go and then it's going to be the next thing, right? Whatever that thing is, just stay away from the thing. If anything, use the thing to educate people on, you know what I mean? Like use it as an example, but don't, you just fall into that trap, and people that are totally obsessed with it, I just unfriend them, unfollow them, just, goodbye. Because I think it's a big fat waste of time. So anyways, Road Dog, be consistent. And again, and just, the question is, do you want that attention? Is that where you want to spend your time? Your goal is to get 20 coaching clients. So damn well go get them. And is social media the best place for you to do it? And if you're asking this question, you're not an expert on social media. And I'm going to dare say that there's significantly, and by the way, live events mastery, I've talked about that if you ask me the easiest path to 10 to 20 coaching clients and, 100,000 to $250,000 coaching business, live event mastery. I've talked about it to death in other podcasts. My company has a program. I personally have filled over 400 local live events and taken that process, turned it into live event mastery. If you follow it, and yes, during COVID, depending upon where you're at in the world, of course, but you can put 4 to 10 people in a room. You just keep them apart and you're good. But that's a way better way. I don't know. Look, if you can't speak in public and we're not going to be able to train you to do that, then this might not be the best way. But bottom line, ask yourself the higher level question and becoming popular on social media might just be your nightmare. So there you go. Shoots. What do you think, Bud? That's what I got, man.
I think you missed the most important thing to your following. Like you completely ignored the number one thing that can to like 100% your teeth. If I had chiclets like yours, dude, like I would have 10 times the amount. Like look at those. I'm looking at them right now, and it's just they are my friend. Like they are mesmerizing, and that's why. You know what? Do you ever wonder, like your live events, did people really come to hear you or just to look at your teeth? Like they're beautiful. Anyways. On that note, listen, I want to pop in one quick question here before we wrap up, but because you sort of alluded to this just on your last answer in terms of people being shy and maybe wanting to steer away from live events. Because we had somebody write in here and said, look, I'm an introvert and feel like coaching is an extroverted world. Any advice for me trying to put myself out there? I think it's a fabulous question. Obviously, anyways, I'll leave you to it, but it just ties into the last one. So how do we help this person out in terms of, like, oh my God, I'm nervous to put myself out there?
Yeah, the way we're asking the question there is giving away a little bit of power, and then it's like it's crazy to say that coaching is an extroverted world. I would debate to say that, a lot of the best coaches in the world are highly introverted, tend to be a little more thoughtful, getting all pumped up. You ever notice you ever notice that your ideas at midnight are not very good at 8 a.m.? Again, you're a little bit pumped up at midnight, or whatever that bedtime is for you. So, a little bit more thoughtful, understanding strengths and weaknesses, is something that you should be doing, and just accepting that, like, it's good. You just like, I'm an introvert, so I got to make this work for me. I heard, look, here's the best explanation I've ever heard for extroverts and introverts, by the way, which may or may not provide some value to you as a coach. And then also if you've got this, but like an extrovert wakes up with no coins and then collects them throughout the days. And the more gold coins they have at the end of the day, the better day they had. Versus an introvert wakes up with 5 gold coins And once those 5 gold coins are spent, as in, had a high level conversation with 5 individuals, basically their day's over, right? So that, so if you understand that, so what do you need to do? You need to make sure that you're spending your time, what do you want, right? Really drill in and then decide that, and then work out, okay, well, if I've got 5 good conversations in me today, 5 high level social interactions, who do those people need to be? The accountant, the gal at the chamber, to do like that, maybe it's going to be an interview. That's going to take, a big gold coin away. So anyway, so just understanding that, I think that's important. So again, I think what I'm trying to say is be strategic. And also, if that's the real problem, I'd go a little bit deeper. What did Einstein say? Like, if I had 1 hour to save the world, I'd spend 55 minutes defining the problem and then 5 minutes solving it. Where there's like another example of, I'd spend, 55 minutes sharpening the saw and then 5 minutes hammering down, the tree. Again, being strategic is kind of where I'm going there. And it's a confidence thing. Like, get out of your own head. This is about you. You're introvert, extrovert. Who cares? You have something to deliver. And if the local restaurant is struggling as a result of very obvious issues that you see, then you need to, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you're going to pick up the phone. That's why you're going to stop in. That's why you're going to speak to them. Speak to them for that reason. And you'll find that gold coin will stick around. More of those gold coins might come into your day, right? Like, do it for them. It just comes down to, look, your why. Like, I remember I did a fast, right? And what I did before I started my fast, I wrote down my reasons why. And then when I got hungry and felt like a chocolate bar, got a headache, I opened up my phone where I had written them. And I knew that I'd have my phone on me. I didn't write it on a pen, I didn't write it down on a piece of paper. I wrote it on my phone this time, right? And I always had them there. When I felt like, breaking my fast, that's what I did, right? So forget me, list your reasons why, you want to, you need to go help these folks. Or another way of approaching this, which might even be more powerful, is, right, when I use the restaurant as an example, right? 50 ways that you could help a restaurant. And by the way, if you Google my name, like Karl Bryan restaurant case study, you're going to see where early on in my One Thing series, I talked about helping a restaurant. I don't know how many things I wrote, but 20 to 50 ways that I would go about helping a restaurant. Read that. And maybe you want to go to a local restaurant and help them with it. Or maybe what you want to do is, maybe what you want to do is you want to head to, don't do the restaurant, but do something different, right? And then just write down 50 ways that you're going to help them and watch what happens. But weakness needs to be your strength. So because you're introverted, I'm going to say you're more thoughtful, like I started with. So make that your strength, and, travel and generate leads in like smaller groups. Like, don't go if there's a networking group, there's 100 people, don't go there. That's going to suck the life out of you, right? Go into smaller groups where it's more intimate, where there's, more likely to be 5 or 25. And maybe you're the one that's organizing them, right? So bottom line, spend more time I think that you got to define the problem. You really, being extroverted, introverted is not the problem. I can speak to an extrovert and say that their challenge is they're not thoughtful enough, and they generate leads and get coaching clients, but then they don't stop, right? So like, random thoughts create random lives. Cautious with that. I think really define the problem, and then the answer becomes obvious. So Road Dog, that's my answer. But I love the 5 gold coin thing. I got to tell you that again. An extrovert wakes up with no coins and collects them, and then an introvert wakes up with 5 gold coins or whatever the number is. And then by the end of the day, once they're exhausted, whether that's at 9 a.m., noon, 5 p.m., or 9 p.m., this is when they're basically done socially. And it can help somebody to understand that. So be more thoughtful and strategic with who you're giving those coins out to throughout the day. So that's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
I think I just love to have the amount of gold coins that you have. So there you go. Like hashtag goals right there, right? Anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the coin man himself, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we definitely would appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that iTunes, Spotify, and all the other streaming services give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for yet another week. The hour just seems to blow right on by. Remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.